Hello， 各位荧幕前面的观众朋友，大家早安，大家好，我是科技报橘的主编周云杰，很开心今天在早上的这个直播节目里面跟大家一起来见面。那今天为什么科技报橘会来到现场呢？其实主要是因为这个全球 AI 的领导级人物吴恩达他首次来台湾做公开的演讲。那这个活动呢，主要是由科技部台湾大学人工智慧研究中心共同协办，与台杉投资共同协办，并且这一次是由科技报橘来做这个线上的播出。那我们在此也感谢 NEC 作为这个技术的赞助伙伴。那这一次呢，吴恩达主要来台湾演讲，他要探讨的题目就是 AI 人工智慧对于社会、对于技术、对于所有的产业下一步的影响会是什么？那可能镜头前面的观众朋友大概已经认识吴恩达，你们可能知道他是一个学术研究背景出身的老师，那大家也可能知道他在企业界有相关多元的发展。那主要呢，吴恩达一开始被大家认识的时候，是因为一堂史丹佛的线上机器学习课程。那这个课程呢，现在在全球在线上已经有240万的学生在线上注册了。那甚至你也可以说他是这个地表上面最受欢迎，甚至是学生人数最多的这个 AI 人工智慧研究领域相关的老师。那除了这个之外呢，其实刚刚有提到他是从这个学术背景出身的嘛，其实吴恩达呢，他是从这个史丹佛当教授开始起家。那在之前的他的学术研究背景主要是在卡内基美隆拿到他的学士学位，接下来从这个 MIT 拿到他的硕士学位之后，再到这个 UC Berkeley 去攻读他的博士相关的学位。那在他在那边主要是在做的是强化学习相关的这个研究哦。那刚刚也有提到吴恩达其实是在这个企业里面有非常多元、非常活跃的发展。大家可能知道吴恩达其实曾经帮助这个 Google 在他们的部门里面设立一个新的部门，叫做 Google Brain ，Google 大脑。那这个 Google 大脑呢，主要做的就是深度学习相关的研究。那甚至他也在这个任职的期间，帮 Google 做了非常多的这个深度学习相关的基础建设。甚至呢，他也就是跟他的创业伙伴一起推动了全世界最受欢迎的这个线上课程平台，叫做 Coursera。Coursera 其实现在是非常多，不管是技术开发者，甚至是企业产业界相关的人都会在上面选读各种不一样的这个课程哦。然后接下来吴恩达也加入了中国的百度，担任首席科学家。那在担任首席科学家的期间呢，他其实帮百度也是做了非常多的这个 AI 的相关的建设与部门。他甚至曾经带着百度的 AI 一起上电视节目，去跟真人来玩这个问答游戏，最后是由这个吴恩达所带领的 AI 获胜哦。除了这些在企业服务的相关经验还有资历之外呢，吴恩达他自己也是一个非常非常活跃的创业家，而且是连续创业家。自从2017年开始离开百度之后，他陆续的创立了3间的这个创业公司，分别是从教育领域，甚至是从协助企业，特别是制造业的这个数位转型领域里面，去帮助各个企业的生态系还有产业的生态系来做 AI。那接下来呢，这个直播即将开始，那我们也请各位继续来收看我们的直播，谢谢。
在整个讲座开始进行之前呢，我先请几位贵宾来帮我们讲话。那首先我请科技部许友进次长来跟我们致辞，请欢迎许次长。
谢谢。吴恩达博士，陈明宪副校长，还有这个吴董事长，各位嘉宾，大家好。今天很荣幸能够来参加今天吴博士的专题演讲。感谢这个吴博士特别抽空到台湾来这个拜访。那人工智慧，我们知道说这几年 有了很大的突破特别是在这个neural network 以及这个深度计算的这个演算法，以及大数据 computing 的这个结合。那另外就是 IoT 这个感知运算的这个兴起。那在过去这几年，我们已经看到这个人工智慧结合这个从 lab 已经走出到这个从实验室已经走出来到产业界。那科技部也在2年前看到这个趋势，所以我们就提出了这个AI 科研的5大战略。那这个 AI 科研5大战略，可能在场这边有很多的这个贵宾都有参加这个 program。那其中第一个 program 我们就建立台湾的这个 AI 的计算的平台，以及 AI 的云端运算。那经过这2年多的努力，那有3个公司参与，广达、ASUS 以及台科大。那在今年我们的 AI 云端运算也正式上线。那有很多不管是学界或是业界的都参与我们这个云端运算的这个 beta program。那也看到有很多好评。那第2个 program 呢，就是我们在台湾成立4个 AI 创新研究中心。那时候感谢在场的这个倪永龙教授帮忙。那我们在台湾的成立了这个4个研发中心，包括台大的这个技术中心，在交大的智慧制造，以及在清大的智慧服务，以及在成大的智慧医疗。好，那经过这2年多的努力，我们也看到说每一个中心都有20-30个这个计划 PI。那有些 PI 事实上也跟很多产业界合作，也帮了产业界将他们问题落地。那有的这个 AI 计划呢自己成立公司。那这些 AI 中心事实上也跟这国际这边有了很不错的接轨。OK， 那我们第3个 program 呢，我们是在这个科学园区，在中科跟南科成立这个智慧机器人的创新制造基地。好，那谈到这个创造基地呢，我们除了说以机器人为主以外，另外就是以这个创新为主。所以现在有加速器会进驻到我们中科跟南科，来培育将来这些新创团队。那第4个呢，就是说在 leverage 我们台湾的强处。我们知道说台湾最强的是在半导体，怎么样的半导体跟 AI 结合在一起？所以我们的 AI Moonshot 这个 program。这有20几个团队呢，做的就是把这个AI 半导体做 AI 晶片，感知运算，以及像这个下一世代的memory 的计算near memory computing 或是 numeric computing 这些跟半导体相关的 AI 的特别是在跟 Edge 相关的这些研究计划。那当然就是说，结合这些，我们有一些关键的技术呢，我们透过这个大竞赛来完成。好，那经过这2年多的这个 program 的运行，我刚刚提到了，我们很明显看到，第一个，我们把台湾在 AI 方面的人才都把聚集在一起了。那第2个，看到台湾在研发上面，以及在产业落地上面都有很不错的成果。那也可以比较一下，就是说这2年我们的 AI 团队或是我们的 AI 的 researcher 在国际上面的重要的这个期刊里面发表的这些 conference 发表的这些论文都很明显的比前几年多了很多。好，那我们今天也非常感谢这个吴恩达博士答应来台湾给这个专题演讲。那吴博士，这个大家都知道，他是 Coursera 的 founder。那可能如果各位用到这个 Coursera 这个平台的话，你要知道这是他去首创的。他也参加过这个 Google Brain 他也是放这 Google Brain。那在国际上他是很有名的，不管是在 AI 或是在机器学习的一个专家。最重要就是他对于这个 education promote 这个 AI， 他有很大的这个passion。OK， 那他今天来谈的问题就是 What's next in AI？ 那他会分享说他看到说未来 在国际上大家 AI 的这个现况以及趋势。那同时呢，他谈谈说他的看法在未来 AI 的将来的走势。我想我们整个 AI 的这个 program 经过这2年多 run 下来，好，那特别经过今天的这个 program 会对大家会有帮助。那第一个呢，我们了解上国际上大家在 AI 上面的看法；第二个呢，我们可以用也可以经过这次的交流来修整，如果说必须要的话，修整我们的方向。OK， 那很短的这个介绍这个科技部的一些 program。那再一次我非常的感谢这个吴博士到台湾的专题演讲。好，谢谢各位。
谢谢。我们谢谢这个许市长哈。那接下来我们请台湾大学陈明宪副校长来跟我们讲话。欢迎陈副校长。
好，那个Andrew 哈，还有市长，还有吴董事长，很高兴来参加今天的活动哈。那个其实我本来准备要讲很久的，刚才市长哈，科技部市长提醒我要讲短一点，所以有关于台湾最近的发展哈，我觉得刚才市长都已经提到了。那其实现在所谓新 AI 哈，就是 deep learning 跟 reinforcement learning 所带来的 impact， 其实大家也都看到了哈。所以呢，我觉得下一步其实就看这些技术如何哈。realize into practice。好，除了现在已经看到的 computer vision 啦、NLP 啦、好 decision support 啦、process optimization， 还有包括像 AlphaGo 这些之外，好看怎么样带来更多的impact 以及它接下来的发展啊。所以我觉得今天的专题演讲，吴博士的专题演讲呢，其实是一个非常合适、好非常 timely 的演讲。好，那吴博士其实本身在重要的就是科技重镇CMU Berkeley Stanford 都待过。他 Berkeley 的指导老师应该大家都听过他的名字，就是 Michael Jordan。Michael Jordan， 不过不是那个篮球明星，是同名同姓，不过就是叫 Michael Jordan。那之后他也在这个重要的 leading 的那个 industrial company， 包括 Google 啦、百度担任过。所以我觉得今天的他的演讲呢，是非常的适时就是非常的 timely 应该可以让台湾现在这个阶段呢，听听他的一些看法然后接下来有更好的发展。那再一次很高兴来参加让我们一起来努力，谢谢大家。
谢谢陈明宪副校长。我这一次的这个活动要非常感谢吴荣义董事长促成所以在短短时间之内呢，我们在网络上播出来之后，短短3、4个小时，整个就被 reserve 掉。所以我们这一次再请吴荣义董事长来帮我们讲话，谢谢。
好，谢谢。首先欢迎 Professor 吴恩达教授来跟我们做专题演讲。那我们要感谢科技部许次长，台大跟我们合办的台大陈副校长，还有在座各位贵宾，还有我们这个因为爆满，好像我们有视讯另外一个房间也有人在听，还有媒体的女士先生大家早安。这个从刚才我们次长的介绍，还有我们这个副校长也稍微提一下。我们知道台湾在 AI 方面已经在政府的大力这个促成之下，已经有相当程度的这个进步。在社会上我们也看到，几乎每天这个媒体这个杂志演讲都在谈 AI。我们几个这个重要人物张忠谋董事长、林百里等等，一谈就是 AI。甚至申正义来台湾也谈 AI， 所以 AI 是如雷贯耳了。但是到底 AI 我们怎么把它应用到我们的产业界，来帮助我们产业升级？我相信这个还有一步这个路要走。 所以今天呢，这个 Professor 谈这个 What's next in AI， 我相信呢，对我们未来台湾的这个 AI 的这个如何从研究变成产业，促进产业的升级，提高台湾的国际竞争力，这个事情我想非常的重要，因为这个吴教授在国际上啊，你刚才提到，我刚才请教他，他这个 Coursera 已经有4000万的毕业生听过他的课，有250万，你知道他这个名声啊，在国际上啊，多响亮。我相信在座一定有一部分有听过他的课，因为他跟这个他 Coursera 跟台大有一个 partnership 哈，这个，但是啊，这个我想啊，我觉得这个其中有关键就是人才够不够。虽然我们有台湾人工智慧学校，表示我们还是努力，业界有没有办法把它引进来？也不能只有少数几家，我们应该尽量多利用 AI， 那这样才有办法。所以我们这个台湾 Capital， 我们台山资本就是要做这件事情。我们这个2年前这个国发会这个促成这个案子40%是国发的钱。还有这个68%是民间成立一个台湾 Capital 创投，我们做了2年，也有10几个投资的案子。那我们也非常强调 Next Generation 下一代的这个台湾的企业新的。那除这个投资以外，我们也这个有一部分的经费要来 promote 这个台湾的这个创投跟业界的关系，我们在矽谷也有一家分公司，是因为这样，我们的矽谷的这个立放，我们的这个那边的负责人呢，我们总经理就这个请这个吴恩达教授来做这样公开演讲，我们所以怎么样 link。把台湾的产业跟美国的这个高科技界产业连起来，怎么样让我们的产业界能够接触一个创投的这个观念，这个是我们台山要做的一件事情。今天这个会也是因为这样的关系，我们希望我们这样的做法能够对我们未来台湾在 AI 方面这个能有所这个。快速的进展，这个是我们非常盼望的。所以我们除了请他今天做公开演讲以外，我们下午还有 round table 跟我们的业界的领袖，然后呢，明天还有整天安排跟个别比较 leading 的这个公司跟他个别交谈来请教。所以我相信这一日虽然2天时间很紧，但是我相信它会带来很大的 impact。所以非常诚挚的感谢我们这个Andrew你利用这样时间，刚才跟他闲聊，他也非常热心，希望台湾也能够成为一个 AI 的 hub。那这个就要那个科技部要大力出，那台大在人才培训的设备方面，也希望能够多努力。我们台山也愿意做其中的一份子，共同来推动 AI。那当然要拜托我们这个安主以后常常来跟我们这个指教我们让我们这个从你的这个经验里面、学术里面学到很多。最后还是要感谢这个各位热心参与这个也祝今天这个我们这个会议成功，谢谢。
好，我们谢谢吴董事长。好，那我们即将开始今天的 AI 讲座。那其实刚刚前几位贵宾已经把吴博士的一些相关经验呢，讲理念呢，跟大家做一个报告跟说明。那我们可以从刚刚的这个说明里面，我们可以发现到吴博士过去很长一段时间呢，一直在引领着这个 AI 领域上面的发展。所以今天呢，他讲的这个 What's next in AI 是一个非常合适的这个人选哦。让我们欢迎吴博士。 谢谢，谢谢，
谢谢，
谢谢。
好，谢谢您的欢迎。So I think I'm going to speak English today, right? It's actually really nice to be back in Taiwan. Some of you know that my wife's family is from Taiwan. And so one of my favorite things in Taiwan has always been to work late and then go to the night market and 要去吃臭豆腐。我在美国待了很多年，都找不到比台湾那么好的臭豆腐。So I'm here for a couple of days because I'm here this week because I'm excited about the potential of AI in Taiwan. And I'm grateful to most and Taiwania for helping organize this, and also Taiwan Da学for hosting this. At Coursera, we've had a fantastic partnership with Taiwan Da学for many, many years. One of the first very early Coursera partners, so it's nice to be back here on campus. So, as you heard just now, AI has made a lot of progress, and there's a lot of news about it almost every day. And 这句话，人工智能、新电能, I've been saying this for 4 years now, right? And look at what has happened in the last 4 years. If you look at the momentum behind AI, the number of jobs continues to skyrocket. This is data from last year's AI index. In a 2-year period, the number of jobs in deep learning increased 35 times, 35x. And if you look at the number of papers posted on arXiv, it also continues to grow. And this is a sign of not just the amount of research being done on AI, but of the size of the community, of the global research community now doing research on this. On the corporate side, if you look at the number of CEOs that mention AI on earnings calls, that too has skyrocketed. Whereas I think the last 2 slides are good data for the rise of AI. This one, I don't know if I would count on this, but there's certainly a lot of corporate interest in AI as well. But if you look at what we have actually done, I think we've transformed the software internet industry. Companies like Google, Baidu, Facebook, Microsoft are very good at AI. But the reason I'm excited about the rise of AI in Taiwan, the rise of AI outside Silicon Valley and Beijing, is I think the next step for AI is for it to rise outside the software industry. And by that I mean for AI to have a huge impact on industries or companies where the primary business is not selling a software product or running a website or an app or an app. Why is that? If you look at the data from McKinsey, a study from McKinsey estimates that there will be $13 trillion worth of global economic growth, global GDP growth by the year 2030 due to AI. And a lot of the sectors of this value creation is in industry sectors like retail, travel, transportation, auto, manufacturing, and so on. And software internet companies, the ones in Silicon Valley and Beijing, they get it. If you go to many software companies, not just the top 5 or the top 10, they have a reasonable basic understanding of AI. But I think the next step for AI is to make sure that we transform all of these industries as well. And this is what we need to do to drive global economic growth. And one of the things that make this possible is that AI is more accessible than ever. Many of you may have heard the story of how the rise of data and compute, the fact that we have more data, the fact that we have faster computers, including GPUs, how that has driven a lot of the rise of AI. In fact, I remember when I was leading the Google Brain team, and we use 16,000 CPUs to train a neural network to recognize cats. That was a big deal, right? This made the front page of the New York Times digital edition. And today, any of you can go online, go to a commercial cloud service, swipe your credit card, and for about $2,000 of cloud credits, replicate what was a cutting-edge result just several years ago. So data and compute is more available than ever before. But the rise of AI is now driven by more than this. There's also talent and ideas and tools. So as you heard just now, my courses on Coursera have taught 2.5 million people machine learning. Many of them are in Taiwan, but this is a learner base that often has spent their own time, sometimes spent their own money, studying on evenings and weekends to learn how to do machine learning and AI. And many of these people are highly skilled, highly motivated, and eager to find a job and make a difference, whether in the software industry or outside the software industry. But beyond what my courses and Coursera has done, many universities worldwide, including here in Taiwan, are offering a lot more AI, machine learning, deep learning courses. So the talent is more available. There is still a talent shortage, but it's much more available than ever before. And ideas. I remember when I used to go to the International Conference on Machine Learning, ICML, and I would come home with the paper proceedings, and I would just look at every single one of the 150 papers published in ICML, right, in my community's main machine learning conference. I would read every abstract of every paper. And we've gone from ICML publishing 150 papers a year to, I saw Jeff Dean tweet out a couple months ago that we now have 100 new papers a day published on arXiv on AI or machine learning. And today we've reached the point where no one human can keep track of all the papers published, but this is a sheer sign of the volume of free knowledge that anyone can download and read and use. And finally, the rise of tools. A few months ago, I was attending an event in California called Maker Faire. It was a large outdoor event with thousands of people. And many people from all around the world had come to California to show off their projects. So I met this person that had traveled from India. And he showed me a little robot that he had built, this big, that was using a camera to take pictures of plants. So this would run over a field. And his little robot would take a picture of a plant and use a machine learning algorithm to classify if the plant has a disease or not. So I asked him, how old are you? And he said, I'm 12 years old. And it occurred to me that if someone at Stanford had done the same project 5 years ago, it would have been a pretty good chapter in a computer science PhD thesis. And now, 5 years later, with a 12-year-old kid from India building on these types of open source tools and knowledge and ideas, able to do projects that just 5 years ago would have been a chapter in a Stanford PhD thesis. So AI is more accessible than ever before, but it is still difficult to get AI projects to work. One of the things I've seen in a lot of industries is that there's a big gap still between building a proof of concept or building a research project to making that project useful in a corporate or in a commercial setting. And what I want to do is share with you some of the lessons and ideas I've learned building AI projects in different companies. So how do you choose an AI project? And I realize some of you are on the corporate side, some on the academic side, but this is very practical. How do you build AI systems that work? I've seen too many companies fail by starting too big, and hardly any fail by starting too small. So my advice is to start small. To use an example, when I started the Google Brain team, at that time, there was still a lot of skepticism in deep learning. People, even within Google, did not believe in deep learning. So my first internal customer was the Google Speech team, and we worked closely with them to make Google Speech more accurate. Now, this was still is not the most important application in Google. It's not web search or advertising. But by making Google speech recognition more accurate, this helped other teams within Google have faith in my team's ability to deliver results using deep learning, and it helped us gain more allies. The second project within Google was Google Maps. where we would use computer vision to read house numbers in order to more accurately locate houses on Google Maps. Using Google Street View, we would read the house numbers to improve the positioning of streets, of houses and buildings on Google Maps. And it was only after doing these two projects successfully that I then started the conversation with Google's ads team, which, as you know, is very lucrative. And I think when you are in a business setting, it's more important to find a project, start small, and use that to build momentum. One other lesson I've learned is, as a framework for brainstorming projects to work on, the newspapers, Métis, we've talked a lot about AI automating jobs, and this is an important question for society to debate, because AI will affect jobs, and we must have a plan and make sure people are treated well. From an engineering and business perspective, it's more useful to think of AI as automating tasks rather than jobs. For example, radiologists, doctors that read x-rays, they actually do a lot of different tasks. They read x-ray images, they sometimes consult with patients, they mentor younger doctors, they sometimes plan surgery, and they invest in their own education. But so radiologists do a lot of different tasks. And all these tasks, one of them, reading X-ray images, seems to be suitable for AI automation or AI assistance. And so that's why many teams, including my team, has been working on AI for trying to automate or to assist with reading radiological or X-ray or CT or MRI images. Or in a manufacturing context, if you look at what people in a manufacturing plant do, they do a lot of things. One of the tasks that we see in a lot of factories is to inspect parts for defects. For example, this is a compressed canister that is submerged underwater in order to see if any bubbles come out of it. And we find that of all the things you do in a manufacturing plant, checking if something you've manufactured for defect, in this case, seeing if there are any bubbles coming out of this compressed air canister to check for defects is one task that is amenable for automation. And so our team's done a lot of work in visual inspection in different contexts. And so find tasks within the workflow to automate. Finally, it's important to combine AI and subject matter experts in order to find the most meaningful use cases. So there's a certain set of things that AI can do, and there's a certain set of things that will be valuable for a business, for an application. And you want to find projects in the intersection, in the middle of these two sets. Because AI technology is still quite hard and quite complicated, only AI experts have a good sense in what's on the set on the left, and only subject matter experts or the business or the application experts have a good sense in what's on the set on the right. And so in order to brainstorm the most valuable projects, it's important to have AI experts and subject matter experts get together in order to find projects to work on together. And about a year ago, over a year ago, I was visiting a factory in a pretty remote city, and it had not snowed in that city for over 10 years. And this is a factory that makes plastic parts. And the last time it snowed, over 10 years ago, many of the plastic parts they made came out melted and shaped in a strange way because it was very cold, right? They have to melt plastic, and it was very cold. So I asked them, what will you do if it ever snows again? And they said, I don't know. It hasn't snowed in 10 years, but there were these three guys, it was all three men, but there were three guys that were there 10 years ago the last time it snowed, and their answer was, if it ever snows again, we'll just do whatever these three guys tells us to do, because they were the only ones here that were here last year. So today, a lot of businesses, especially outside the software industry, are run based on this type of tribal knowledge and experience, where people have been doing this for a long time, so they have the right intuitions. But think, what if those three guys were to retire? Would that knowledge be lost? And it's often by having AI experts sit down together with the subject matter experts, like these three people, with many years of experience in the business, that we can brainstorm the most useful use cases, and also try to move these businesses from being so tribal knowledge and intuition driven to more systematic and data driven, which also helps the company sustain if any of these guys ever retire. So, to summarize, when choosing AI projects, I recommend to start small, like what I did with speech at Google, right? To do a few small projects to gain momentum. Think of how to find tasks to automate, and finally, brainstorm projects by combining AI experts and subject matter experts. Now, I've talked about how to find 1 or 2 AI projects, but there's more that you can do. And when you've brainstormed a few projects, I've talked about making sure the project is doable as well as valuable. So when I get together with a partner or a team, I usually recommend to brainstorm at least 6 different projects. One thing I've seen is sometimes even the CEO gets really excited about one project, but if you just pick one project, sometimes that may or may not be the most valuable thing to do. So when I'm working with partners to find useful AI projects, we usually brainstorm at least 6 projects and then go through technical diligence and business diligence to make sure the project is feasible and valuable. So in technical diligence, we will ask questions like, can an AI system meet the desired performance? Let me see. How much data is needed, and what's the engineering timeline? And either I or senior engineers can take a look at the project idea to validate that this is doable from a technical perspective. Unfortunately, there is a lot of hype about AI, and sometimes people have unrealistic expectations about what AI can do. We've seen too many car-making CEOs, automotive CEOs, stand on stage and announce plans for self-driving cars that turned out to be unrealistic, right? In fact, quite a few times, I would be, on stage together with the CEO, and that car-making CEO will say these very ambitious plans. And then 20 minutes later, we would get off stage, and I will talk to that CEO's engineers. And even that CEO's engineers will tell me, no, what the CEO just said is not doable, and they're not doing it, right? So I think technical diligence is important. And then the other part of it is business diligence, to make sure that this project has value if you're able to do it. And the value could range from lowering costs and increasing revenue, which can help the current business, to launching new products or businesses to help a company, help an organization launch new businesses. So when I work with partners on AI projects, I usually recommend don't become fixated. Don't choose one project right away. Instead, brainstorm at least 6 projects, and for each of the projects, we will usually spend a few weeks doing technical and business diligence to finally choose 1 or 2 to commit to, only after we are convinced that it passes both of these. Now, let's see. For companies, there's often the build versus buy decision. And just to share with you my experience, I find that machine learning projects, that is projects that result in running AI software, can often be done in-house or outsourced. But data science projects, the way the words machine learning and data science are used are not consistent. But by data science projects on this slide, I mean, if your goal is to look at some data and analyze it and have a PowerPoint presentation to help set business direction, I find that a lot of data science projects are more efficiently done in-house rather than outsourced, because you need to be so close to the business insights. But a lot of machine learning projects that can be outsourced to have an outsourced team help you build a working AI system, and this can help a lot of companies gain momentum more quickly as well. So we've talked about selecting individual projects. Another set of lessons I've learned is how to make a company good at AI. And so I want to go from finding a few projects and zoom out to talk about how we can help a company rather than just a small team use AI effectively. A few months ago, I published online what I call an AI transformation playbook, which takes a lot of the lessons I learned building Google Brain and Baidu's AI group, which helped Baidu and Google become good at AI, as well as talking to many CEOs and synthesizing those learnings into a playbook for companies to adopt AI. So in 5 steps, these are some of the things we recommend teams do for not to be good at just 1 or 2 AI projects, but for the organization as a whole to be good at AI. From pilot projects to gain momentum, to building an in-house AI team, to providing training, to AI strategy, to communications. So the first step is to execute pilot projects to gain momentum. And we've talked a bit about this already, of how to select a few projects. But for the first few projects, it's more important for the initial projects to succeed rather than for it to be the most valuable project. Because it's often by doing a few even smaller projects that the organization learns what it feels like to do an AI project. Where I still remember when the first GPU server at Google, it was just some computer under some guy's desk, right? And it was after figuring out how to train models on a few GPUs on the server there that the team learned how to eventually put many GPUs in the cloud. And it is often possible to develop projects that show traction relatively quickly. And the first few projects can be in-house or outsourced. If you have in-house expertise, that's great. Or if you outsource part of it, that can also help you gain momentum. Now, beyond a certain point, most companies will need their own in-house AI team. So a lot of companies are organized like this, where there are multiple business units reporting to the CEO. So what I recommend to most organizations is to build a new AI function, a centralized AI team that matrixes in, whose responsibility is to support the different business units. This is the structure that both Google and Baidu use. And by having a centralized AI team, this gives them a community to talk to, share ideas with, and the centralized AI team can also build horizontal platform tools that are specific to this company and that helps the different business units. And in some ways, I feel like if you look at Taiwan as a whole, rather than just one company, look at Taiwan as a whole, I feel like most in Taiwania and NTU maybe play a little bit of the role of a centralized AI team technology team can help a lot of different organizations across Taiwan. Maybe it's an imperfect analogy. Step 3 is to provide broad AI training. And I've seen in a lot of companies that if a company has a small machine learning team, but if only the machine learning team knows what to do, then they're usually not set up for success. One of the things about the great AI companies is that up and down the management chain, people have some basic level of knowledge about AI. So I recommend to companies that at the executive role, C-level, and senior executives, senior business leaders, that they should learn a little bit about what AI can and cannot do, what AI could do for the company, and learn how to think about AI strategy, as well as how to resource allocate. And then the leaders of divisions working on AI projects should be able to set project direction, do resource allocation, and know enough about AI in order to monitor progress. And then, of course, the whole world still doesn't have enough AI engineers, so it's important that we take our existing talent and keep on providing training on how to build and ship AI software, gather data, how to execute on specific AI projects. So it's only by providing training across multiple levels that a company can become really good at AI. One of the changes that's happened in the world over the last decade as well is that I think 10 years ago, if you wanted to train people on these types of things, right, what do? You try to invite, people like me to come and give a talk, right? But that doesn't scale that well. But with the rise of the internet, so the rise of things like Coursera or YouTube video or really easily accessible books, I think the smart chief learning officer in most companies knows that they should not be creating content, because creating content is very expensive and it's just a lot of work. But the smart chief learning officers know that they should be curating rather than, curate means to select, right? Choose the most best content and get the teams to use it rather than try to create so much content from scratch, because there are a few organizations like Coursera or YouTube or book writers that are creating the content that can then be used across many organizations. Step 4 is develop an AI strategy. When I first published when I first circulated drafts of the AI transformation playbook, a lot of CEOs, several CEOs came to me and said, hey, Andrew, can you make the AI strategy step 1 instead of step 4? Because the CEO said, I want to first come up with my strategy, then go to my board of directors to get approval and get the funding, and then I'll execute on the strategy. And despite CEOs or leaders giving me this feedback, I said no. And I found that before a company knows how to use AI, if step 1 is formulating the strategy tends to be very academic, very copy-pasted from the newspaper headlines. So a CEO will tend to come with a strategy like, I read in the newspaper that data is important, so my strategy is to collect as much data as possible, right? But until a company knows what it feels like to build an AI project, if it tries to formulate a strategy, it ends up being very simplistic. And before a company has built a couple AI projects, has some in-house AI talent, it's difficult even for the company to know what is a good and what is not a good strategy. So I tend to recommend to put AI strategy later. And there are ways, and strategy is very unique to every organization. But for many companies, there will be ways to leverage AI to create an advantage for your industry sector. One of the patterns that you see across many industries is this virtuous circle of AI, where if you can build a slightly better product, you get more users. And having more users allows you to get even more data, and that feeds into the AI to keep on improving your product. And so companies that move fast, a little bit faster than competitors, to enter this virtuous feedback loop, this positive feedback loop, can sometimes gain a long-term business advantage. As part of AI strategy, many companies should also consider formulating a data strategy. One of the preemptive investments that has been useful for many companies is to put the data together into one place, build a central data warehouse, a centralized data lake. Because if you have data in 50 different silos in 50 different databases, then for an engineer to get approval to access 50 different databases from maybe 10 different vice presidents is nearly impossible. And it's only by putting the data together that the chances of an engineer or a piece of software being able to connect the dots, such as realizing that from the customer service database, you get a lot of service requests if a part was manufactured in a factory where it was much hotter than usual, right? But to be able to connect your factory database with your customer service database, only if the data is together does the engineer have a chance of being able to connect the dots. And strategic data acquisition as well will also help accelerate unified data warehouse. And then in the US, we've seen a lot of businesses with network effects and platform advantages, and often using AI as an accelerator to help you build the platform with a network effect can help a company gain a long-term advantage. Finally, excuse me, I'll go over this one quickly. when a company has built up an AI capability, sometimes they'll also ask us for help with internal and external messaging, ranging from investor relations to government relations to user education to talent recruitment. So we've been helping some of our partners with some elements of this as well. And the detailed AI transformation playbook is at the URL at the bottom, and I think one of the things I'm excited about is hopefully helping Taiwan to to build a few great AI companies outside, especially outside the software industry. Right? Now, before talking a bit about Taiwan, I want to share with you some technology trends that I'm excited about. AI, specifically supervised learning, deep learning and supervised learning, is creating tremendous economic value. And there are a lot of use cases that have not, that we can build with existing technology, and we just need people to identify those use cases and build them. But AI technology is continuing to evolve, and I want to share with you a few examples of technology trends that I'm excited about. One is the rise of AI as a systematic engineering discipline. Here's what I mean. Many years ago, if you wanted to build a bridge, there used to be these wise old men and wise old women that will come and tell you, and they'll look at your bridge and say, add an extra piece of wood there. And if you did what they say, your bridge was more likely to stay up. But didn't really know why. And it took human society a long time to build the engineering discipline of civil engineering, so that now people all around the world can build reliable bridges. I think machine learning is still undergoing this transition from an intuition, tribal knowledge, experience-based discipline to a systematic engineering discipline. Let me share with you one example. Some of you, if you work in software engineering, you may have heard of agile development, where it's quite common to do 2-week sprints, meaning the software engineers write code for 2 weeks, come back, decide what to do next. I found for my machine learning teams, we sometimes use 1-day sprints. And that means that we will write code all day, run an experiment overnight, because sometimes it takes a few hours to run an experiment, and then the next morning we do a stand-up meeting, or the team meets to look at the results from last night to decide what to do the next day, and then we spend the second day writing code, run experiments overnight, meet the next morning, and so on. But we found that for some machine learning projects, the right pace to decide on a new direction is once per day. To a lot of traditional software engineers, this is a very strange process, that you do a 1-day instead of a 2-week sprint, but this is what we've found to be an effective process for many AI teams. So in the software engineering world, it took us decades to come up with ways to make software engineering systematic. Ideas like code review, version control, it took us a long time to come up with those ideas. And I think in the AI world, we're still in the process of inventing those processes to make it more systematic. And this is important because we need AI to be accessible to everyone, and not just to a small number of companies in Silicon Valley and Beijing. And I think this evolution as a systematic engineering discipline will be important. Second, you've heard a lot about big data, but one of the most exciting trends is transitioning from big data to small data. A lot of AI was driven by big data because a lot of the early work was done in consumer internet companies, which have a lot of users, hundreds of millions or billions of users, and so the consumer internet companies just have a lot of data. But once you go outside that software industry, most industries do not have as much data. For example, in manufacturing, if you it turns out that if you have 1 million pictures of scratched smartphones, then a lot of teams can write an AI software to do automatic inspection, right? recognize if a smartphone has a scratch on it, if you have 1 million pictures of scratched smartphones. But fortunately, no factory in the world has manufactured 1 million scratched smartphones that now have to be thrown away. And this giant database just does not exist. But if you're able to get an AI system to work with just 10 images or maybe 100 images, then this dramatically opens up the set of use cases for AI technologies. And this is an important trend for AI to break out from software internet to all of the other industries. So with the rise of technologies like one-shot learning, few-shot learning, data augmentation, also self-supervised learning, which I'm excited about, I'm seeing a lot of progress in AI for small data. So my team at Landing AI does a lot of work on small data as well. There's been a lot of hype about reinforcement learning in the media. It turns out that the hype for reinforcement learning is much bigger than its actual commercial impact. So if you want to play video games, or if you want to play games like Weiqi or Go, reinforcement learning is great. But if deep learning supervised learning is creating 99% of the economic value of modern AI. And at least today, reinforcement learning is really hardly used. It's used very, very little in actual commercial deployment scenarios, even though it's wonderful for playing games. Of course, that's just what it is today. Technology changes very rapidly, so maybe this will change in the future. But there is one technology I'm excited about for maybe making reinforcement learning useful in the future, and that's meta-reinforcement learning, or meta-learning for reinforcement learning. This work is done by researchers like Peter Abiu, Chelsea Finn, OpenAI, DeepMind are also doing work on this. But here's the idea. I used to fly autonomous helicopters at Stanford, so that's a picture of my radio control helicopter. And the way we fly a helicopter is we will build a simulator for the helicopter, like a video game of the helicopter, and have the AI learn in simulation, because we can crash the helicopter 10,000 times in simulation without hurting anyone. And then we'll take the learned controller, learned from a simulator, and put it on the actual helicopter. Now, the problem with this approach is that no one knows how to build a simulator for the helicopter that is completely accurate, right? No one knows, the aerodynamics, the airflow around the helicopter is very complex, and no one knows how to build an accurate simulator. So meta-learning allows you to do the following. This technology, meta-learning, meta-reinforcement learning did not exist when I was doing this work, but if it did, this is what we could have done, which is rather than building one simulator, let's say you build a lot of different simulators. Maybe build 5 or 10 or 100 different simulators of helicopters, where in every simulator, the helicopter is a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller, the thrust is a little bit stronger, a little bit weaker, and vary lots of parameters randomly in all of these different simulators. What meta-reinforcement learning does is it trains a controller, trains a policy or controller whose job is to be able to wake up in any one of these 5 or 10 or 100 simulators and very quickly adapt to do well on whatever helicopter it wakes up on. What researchers have found is that if you can build a policy, build a controller that can do well on any of these 100 simulators, whichever one it wakes up on, then when you put this controller on your actual physical helicopter, even though your actual physical helicopter is different than all of your 100 simulations, your controller also has an excellent chance of doing well on your actual physical helicopter. So reinforcement learning's commercial impact today is still quite small, but I think ideas like this will help us take these ideas to practical realities in manufacturing, or actually my team's doing quite a lot of work in agriculture, where we're exploring these types of techniques as well. And finally, a couple more trends I'm excited about is, and this will affect Taiwan as well, is a lot of AI has been done in the cloud, but increasingly compute needs to be done at the edge. The edge means in your smartphone or your Amazon Echo or Google Home or Baidu DuMi, your smart speaker, or things that are, or your self-driving car, things at the edge, or in the fog servers in the middle. And the interesting thing that's been happening the last few years is that each of these compute substrates has its own Moore's law, right? Cloud computers are getting faster at a certain rate. Edge computers are getting faster, but at a different rate than cloud computers. And your wireless network is also getting faster, but at a different rate than these things as well. So because there are all of these different competing Moore's law with different things getting faster from compute and the networking getting faster at different rates, I find that about once per year, my teams have to rethink what compute to put at the edge, what to put in the cloud, what to put in the fog, what data to store. And this is a very exciting and dynamic time for building these applications. But for Taiwan, with the strong semiconductor industry, I think Taiwan can play a huge role in shaping this future as well. So let me just finish up with a few thoughts on AI in Taiwan. I think that the world needs more AI hubs than just Silicon Valley and Beijing. Silicon Valley and Beijing had very strong software internet industries, and because the rise of AI has started with software internet, a lot of that work has been done in Silicon Valley and Beijing. But AI is still very young, it's still very immature. Even Silicon Valley and Beijing do not have mature AI ecosystems. I know they seem really advanced, but I can tell you, we're still making stuff up, right, in Silicon Valley and Beijing. We're still inventing new things every month. And this means that there are many opportunities for other cities with the right ingredients to also become a strong AI ecosystem, a strong AI hub in the future. I think Taiwan has those ingredients with the strong universities, the strong government organizations, and the strong industries. And I think some of the most important things for a city to do are to invest in education. I know Taiwan's been doing a lot of that already, but I hope the country and the city will keep on making significant investments. I don't think Taiwan should build its own web search engine. That was the competition from 10 years ago, right? They're now perfectly good web search engines. But there are industries in Taiwan where you're already very strong, and where it'll be easier if you want to apply deep learning to semiconductor manufacturing or to certain types of manufacturing. It'll be actually easier to do that work here in Taiwan than for a company in Silicon Valley to do it, because there are no foundries in Silicon Valley. There's very low manufacturing in Silicon Valley. And I think rather than competing generically with the software internet industries, the best opportunity for Taiwan is to build out AI for its own vertical industries, because Taiwan could do that much more efficiently here than probably Silicon Valley or Beijing can. And I think one of the most exciting things I've seen has also been the nationwide programs like MOST and Taiwania, and I'm grateful for the help organizing these events at NTU as well. And I've seen all of these programs in different countries, programs like this in different countries, be very effective. Last year we had a LEAP scholar that joined my team from MOST, and we had an engineer, Bolian, that did great work, right? So he came from Taiwan to my team in the US, spent a year with us in the US, and exchange programs like this are effective, and we're grateful for his help. Hopefully he learned a lot from us. You could check with him, I guess, see what he says. But I think that the world needs more AI hubs than Silicon Valley and Beijing. And if you look at what Uber and Didi and Grab, if you look at what Uber did to the taxi industries, for most industries, you would be better off if you built AI for yourself and control your own fate, rather than have a startup disruptor, like an Uber, due to Taiwan Industries, what Uber did to the taxi industries. So I think Taiwan, if you look across Asia, is one of the few. I think not a lot of cities have all the ingredients, from the educational system to the talent to the government institutions to strong industry needed to become a strong AI hub in the future. And I have faith in Taiwan to work on this and become a strong AI hub. And I hope that you too will have faith in Taiwan. And if I can play a small role in supporting the rise of AI in Taiwan, I would be very honored to do so. So with that, let me just say thank you all very much and take questions. Thank you.
我们感谢。非常感谢温达教授的精彩演讲。因为时间关系，我们只给几个 short questions， 有没有问题 ？OK, here.
Hi, Andrew. This is Thomas Wu from Capital. Very insightful, informative speak. Thank you very much. I just have one question with regards to your comments on domain expertise and its applicability in using AI technology. Because my firm primarily focuses on financial markets and fintech and blockchain and so that. So one key aspect that we always look at is the provability, or I should say the usability of backtesting in financial machine learning. And it seems to me that a lot of the artificial intelligence or deep learning techniques are very applicable to systems or physical systems. They are relatively predictable, but financial markets are relatively unpredictable because of humanity, because of strategic behavior, and because of a lot of data are just not available and we don't even have model for a lot of those behaviors. I just wanted to know what your thoughts are on how to apply those new techniques and theories or theories to be in your field to this most exciting complex scan in the world, which is finance.
Yeah, so in finance, there are a lot of use cases. I think, if the goal is to predict stock prices, that's just really difficult. But some of the use cases in finance, I think, are very positive and very fruitful. One is detecting fraud. I think there's a lot of fraud detection work. If you want to price or decide on loan applications, I'm seeing a lot of work in using AI to better understand user data in order to better assess credit risk. So exciting projects there. And then also I've seen some projects, actually we've helped on some projects on the customer service end. So if you're a large financial institution, say a bank, and you want to improve the quality of customer service, be it building a chatbot to help respond to customer inquiries about what is my bank balance, can you help me with transfer, to also helping people in the physical retail store be more help track the performance of people in the physical bank in terms of their performance. I've seen use cases like that, but I think probably there's a large bucket of use cases in understanding user data. A lot of financial organizations already have a lot of data, and sometimes you can go outside to get even more data and combine the data together. And using that in order to decide how to market financial products and how to price different financial products. I think that those are some examples of categories that we've seen. Sometimes I've worked on some of these that I think is exciting. Yeah. Hope that's helpful.
大家没有问题。
Over there.
OK, yeah.
其实如果大家想讲中文，也应该听得懂。Wow.
Thanks for the great speech. I just have a quick question regarding the adversarial-based approaches. So, in today's speech, you haven't covered the adversarial-based approaches. So I'm just wondering, other than generating training data sets and super resolution, do you see any early adoption signal in any of the business use cases for that? And if not, are there some of the other new paradigms that is also exciting as the adversarial-based approaches? Thank you.
Yeah, so the adversarial approaches like GANs, right, they were created by my student, former student, Ian Goodfellow. I find that I am seeing traction in the media and entertainment industries where you can create graphics effects that just were not possible before. But outside, and there's some experiments in the creativity industries, use to design new shoes or new clothing or whatever. But outside the media, entertainment, and the creativity industries, so far I'm seeing less application scenarios. But I think it will have a big impact on media and entertainment because the not GANs, VAEs, really the generative synthesis approaches as a broader category, the ability to synthesize music, synthesize pictures or videos. I think that will have a big impact on the media and entertainment business. Whether it will have a big impact outside media and entertainment, that I'm still not too sure.
OK， 好，时间关系，我们就最后一个问题哈，谢谢。
You mentioned a couple of times in your presentation that your team at Landing AI is helping out with a couple of agricultural projects involving AI. I'm curious to hear what those may be.
Sure. So I guess this is public. We've been working with Zheng Zhongke with building smart agricultural machinery. So Zheng Zhongke is or Zheng Zhongji in China is a great agricultural machinery company, but sees a trend of using AI to build smarter sprayers, smarter harvesters as an important capability to build smarter products. So we've been partnering with them. One of the actually they've been putting out press releases about working with us, so this is public. But I think building smart agricultural machinery. Imagine if a farmer can drive a smarter machine, and as a result, the crops grow better and you harvest more crops, right? That's just very valuable. And I think agriculture is one sector that will have to become more intelligent. One of the things I'm excited about, one of the things I think to share with you the way I think about AI. I saw with my own eyes how Google and Baidu became much more effective and much more valuable as companies because of the AI adoption, right? With adopting AI, the companies became, the products of the companies became more valuable and more effective, and internally, the companies also operated significantly more efficiently. But this potential for a company to become more effective and more valuable is not just in the software industry. And one of the things I hope to do is, for example, to help an agricultural company also become much more effective and much more valuable. But to do this with different industries. So we can help a telecoms company or a manufacturing company or a semiconductor company become more effective and more valuable using AI, then I think, to be really honest, one of the mistakes my community made, one of the mistakes we made with the rise of the internet was we created tremendous wealth, but we also contributed to wealth inequality. We created a lot of wealth for Silicon Valley and Beijing, basically, right? Maybe the East Coast. And it's important to me that this time round, with the rise of AI, we will create tremendous wealth. That's really obvious. But it's important to me that this time round, we make sure that the massive wealth we create with AI is shared in a fair way. And this means not having it be concentrated just in Silicon Valley and Beijing, and not having a concentration be just in the software internet companies, but to make sure that this technology fairly reaches all cities, all people, and all industries, right? So. All right. So with that, I think we should break. So let me just say thank you all very much again. I'm excited about the rise of AI in Taiwan, and I hope we'll have more opportunities to engage with you in the future as well. So thank you. 谢谢。
我们再次感谢吴恩达教授给我们精彩演讲。那也谢谢大家的参与，感谢，谢谢。谢谢。
Hi, my name is Nick. I was Okay.